Well, hello everyone. I know I'm a little late with a video like this because it has been several days since the actual show, but I did want to do this video. I just have not felt like making many videos in the past few days for whatever reason, because I do want to do a video on the Big Bang because I did really enjoy the show and I felt it was strong enough to warrant some discussion, but I just have not felt like putting myself in front of a camera the last few days. Just one of those weird, inexplicable things that you'll notice. But I am here to do this video now because did I enjoy The Big Bang? I definitely did. The Big Bang was a really strong show, I thought. Pretty much solid from top to bottom with some very, very good matches. And I wanted to. It was worthy of discussion, so that's what I will do, despite the fact that it is late. Aside from the fact that I did not want to, for whatever reason, do a video the last few days, I did want to wait until the show was uploaded so I could watch the second half with a bit more attentiveness, because I did watch this live as it was happening, and I pretty much, with the late hour that warrants from someone on this side of the world, I think everything after the second half I was pretty much half conscious for, to be honest. Not very all there, I would say, even though I definitely do not regret the decision to stay up to watch it live, just to be able to see Chris Daniels return in all his holy glory. That was awesome, I have to say. That made the whole thing worth it, even though I did have to wait for the show to be uploaded to watch the tag title match and the world title match again, because they deserved my full and undivided attention. Definitely they did, and I did that. I watched it and I was very impressed with what I saw. On the note of late night viewing, thank you Honor Hammer for letting me stay in on that Skype call. I know I said pretty much nothing, but it was a very late hour and my parents were asleep, and I just it wasn't the circumstances for me to interject myself into a lot of conversation. But I do appreciate you doing that for me so I could be a bit more alert and stay in for the whole show despite my lack of attentiveness during the second half. That was nice of you, so I would thank you for that. I would like to get to know you guys better, but time differences and that kind of thing will probably be the eternal barrier in that. I don't know, maybe it will, maybe it won't. I'll just have to try a little harder. But back to the Big Bang. I'm not going to do a review of the show because there's been enough of those already, and there's nothing, there's no value in that anymore. But I do want to do a video on the Big Bang and what it accomplished for Ring of Honor. And the reason I make a video like that is because I think that their choice of slogan warrants this kind of discussion, because their slogan was "Pro Wrestling explodes into the 21st century." And that statement to me was kind of a invitation to look at the position of pro wrestling as it stands today and how it resonates with the current trends of the popular culture audience. But before I start talking about that, one more thing it accomplished, and this will be the only bit of TNA hate in this video. This is not a TNA hate video, this is an ROH praise video, but there will be one bit of TNA hate in this video, and that is a comparison of how you debut your talent. Because since January 4th, TNA have debuted so many guys, they've brought so many guys to their show, and some of them have been very powerful pieces of talent. And yet I would say that none of them had any sort of the impact that Chris Daniels had when he showed up on Ring of Honor on that pay-per-view, probably because it was actually a surprise. It had not been rumored beforehand. And maybe some of the credit for that is due to TNA. I don't know why they didn't announce that he had been released when he apparently was released on the Wednesday. I don't know why they didn't care to announce it. Maybe that was Dixie Carter doing Christopher Daniels a favour. There have been reports that people feel that Dixie Carter has lost her compassionate way of doing things, so maybe that was kind of a sign of good faith towards Daniels. Maybe, I don't know if there's much sense in that, but maybe that was what it was, I don't know. But there was no indication that was going to happen, and then it did, and it was the most powerful thing, as opposed to even Jeff Hardy coming in, even RVD coming in, of course, because of what they did with that. And they achieved that. They achieved what TNA could not achieve in the the last 4 months that they have had guys come in and take over their show. So I would just like to point that out before I get into, you know, pro wrestling explodes into the 21st century. So as pro wrestling exploded into the 21st century, don't think you even have to listen to me, to be quite honest, because the people who were there live, they said, if you want your wrestling back, you should watch this show. The people who reviewed this before me said, if you want to just watch some good wrestling, you should watch this show. You know, this had something for everyone on it. This had a hardcore match that was, you know, at least entertaining. It wasn't the best hardcore match you'll ever see, but it was at least entertaining. It had a comedy match that was very entertaining, I will say that. Thought that was very entertaining myself. A very good comedy match. It had, I would say, one of the best representations of tag team wrestling that you will find these days. You know, I haven't seen, that's just me talking, because I have not seen all the best tag matches over the past few years in Ring of Honor and in other promotions as well. I've seen a fair few, but not as many as I would like. But that was up there among one of my favorite tag matches I've ever seen. They went out there and showed you what tag team wrestling should be and what it can be still. You know, the finish wasn't quite as explosive as I would have liked, because I'm used to, with those tag matches, to kind of just like breathe in exhilaration after they're finished, because you know, they're that good. The finish of this match didn't really allow for that because of the way it was done, but I guess it works for the Kings of Wrestling going forward, and they got the finish that they needed to get to work with their character. So, you know, I can't really complain about that too much. And, you know, the world title was for the most part at the forefront of the show, that I thought. You know, it was unfortunate that the Lucha guys had to go on last, but, you know, you couldn't get around the fact that such a high percentage of your audience, your live audience, had come just to see those guys. So you had to put them on, and they came late, so you had to put them on the main event. Kind of unfortunate, but, you know, it is what it is. And but apart from that, I would say that the world title was at the forefront of the show. You know, after you had those two local guys go on, you had Kenny King and Davey Richards go out there and wrestle a match that was based on gunning for the world title. You had Davey cut a promo that was based on that. You had video packages that were, I would say, among the best that I've ever seen in Ring of Honor. And then when you had the world title match, those three guys went out there and showed you just what the world title can mean and what it can add to a match. They went out there, they busted their ass, they laid it all on the line to add to the prestige of that title, and when it was all over, it definitely succeeded, I thought. And, you know, in a popular culture environment where the UFC is the in thing right now because it is real and it feels important, the world title in wrestling should be as important as you can make it, and that's what Ring of Honor succeeded in doing with this show, I thought. The only thing I would say that really disappointed me, and I've already kind of mentioned this, but when I mentioned this had something for everyone, you know, I thought the Lucha Tag would be another thing that I could mention in that bracket, but it was very disappointing to me because apart from the fact that it had to be the main event, it was just basic wrestling. It didn't really show me what Lucha should be and what it can add. It wasn't really a different style, you know. I thought it could be just another kind of dimension to add to the show, but it really didn't show me that, and I was kind of disappointed with that. But I would say apart from that, this was a really strong show. I would say I liked it at least as much as WrestleMania, maybe a little more, but definitely not less. Very strong show, I thought, and I thought I would just do that video to show my support for the company and tell them to keep doing what they're doing, because they're doing a great job. And I've also made a pledge, just to close off on this note, I've made a pledge to catch up on my Chikara before King of Trios this year, because I've noticed how stacked King of Trios is this year. So I just ordered the last 6 shows, and I want to catch up on those, because I've heard so much about how compelling the storylines are and the characters are, and I was intrigued to begin with, and then I noticed how stacked King of Trios is, and I just had to buy the show. So I will hopefully have a Chikara themed video coming out before King of Trios, which is later this month, and so stay tuned for that. And I also want to add in a TNA themed video before lockdown, so stay tuned for that. And with that, I'm out. Later.